Hey guys, in this part of the section, we're going to be diving into calculations. So if you're wondering what do we actually do with variables, this is one of the things we can actually do with variables. We can add them, we can multiply them, we can divide them, and we can subtract them. We can perform calculations that you would normally do in your everyday life with them. So I'm going to declare two variables, and the first one I'll call it number 1, and I'm going to store the number 77. And I'm going to create another variable of integer, and I'm going to call it number 2. And then I'm going to call this one, I'm going to give it a value of 98. And down here, what I'm going to do is create another variable that will store the sum of these two variables. So I'm going to call this one sum. Remember, you can call variables whatever you like. Now, notice what I'm going to do over here. I'm going to take number 1. And remember, I want to add these two numbers. So the sum of these two numbers. So it's number 1 plus, using this plus symbol, I can add these two numbers. And then number 2. And then remember your semicolon at the end. Now we want to output the sum of these two numbers on the terminal, right? So what I'm going to do is write my system.out.println, and then I'm going to pass in sum, and then I'm going to run this. And now I get the sum of these two numbers. So that's how you can add numbers on with Java. Now you can also do this if you like. Instead of just creating a third variable, you can override the existing value inside a variable, right? So we can just say number 2 is equal to number 2 plus number 1. We can also do that. And then here we're just going to pass in number 2. And I'm going to run this. And for those who didn't, okay, we're going to get 175, right? So for those who didn't catch this, I'm going to explain it. So we have number 1, right? And number 1 is 77. Number 2 is 98, right? So number 2, this variable, we can override it by giving it another value, right? So what value am I giving number 2 now? Like which value am I overriding it to? I'm overriding it to number 2 plus number 1. I'm sure you can catch that. So number 2 is not going to be 98 anymore. Number 2 is now going to be 98 plus 77. I hope you understand that. Now, what my lecturer likes to say, my lecturer used to say, she said, instead of saying number 1 is equal to 77, just say number 1 becomes 77. So this one will make more sense to you. Number 2 becomes number 2 plus number 1, instead of just thinking about it like you normally do in maths. Because imagine if you were calculating and you saw x is equal to x plus 1. That wouldn't make any sense. How come 98 is equal to 98 plus 77? That doesn't make any sense. So think about it as if you are saying number 2 becomes number 2 plus number 1. I hope that makes sense. And we can do this in a shorter way. Instead of saying number 2 is equal to number 2 plus 1, we can say number 2 plus equals. So we can get rid of that other number 2 and just say plus equals. Now this sum will add this number to the existing value in this variable. So it's going to add 98 to it's going to add 77 to 98, I'm sorry. And then you can just run your number 2. I hope that makes sense. Let's just do that a little bit more. I'm going to erase this. So the more we do it, the more you understand it. And the more you practice as well, the more you understand it. So I'm going to call this x, and it's going to be equal to 3. And I'm going to create another one called y, and it's equal to 5. And here I'm going to say x plus equals to y, because I want to add the value 5 to x, right? Now I'm going to run x, and you're going to see that the value will be 8. I hope this makes sense to you guys. And now I want to show you that you cannot, it's not only, you cannot only do this with the addition, you can also do this with minus. So we can minus the value 3, the value 5 from 3. So we're going to get -2. Now let me change these variables, vice versa. You're going to get positive 2. Now I'm going to run y instead, and I'm going to get 2, as you can see. So this is called augmentation. This shorthand notation where you do this is called augmentation. Now I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to create the sum variable. I'm going to take it back to the sum variable. And what I want to do is show you that the addition is not the only operator. Of course, you can do minus, and you can also do division. Now I'm going to give this a value of 10. We are expecting the output of 2 here, right? Because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So when I run this, we're gonna get 2, as you can see. And let me just pass in 6. So we're supposed to get 1 comma something, right? But check this out. We get 1, but we don't get the other decimals. Why? Because we are using integer. We're using integers instead of double. So when you do this, now check this out. We're still not going to get the value we want, because one of these has to be a double in order for this to work. One of these two variables has to be a double. We get 1.0, of course, because of this variable over here, but these two variables are still integers, so we had to change one of them to a double in order for this to work. And there we go. So you can either change both of them or one of them, it doesn't matter, it still works. So that's not the only one that works. We can multiply. Remember, when we divide, we use this symbol, so don't forget that. And when we multiply, we used the asterisk, so it's going to say 10 times 6 is equal to 60. So there we go, we get 60.0. So if you want to get this value over here, as an integer, you can just revert it back to the int data type. And I want to show you this one more symbol. So we've done addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So I want to show you this one more symbol which returns the remainder of two numbers. So this is the symbol. It's called the modulus symbol. Now I'm going to run this. It's going to return the remainder. Now 10 divided by 6 is 1, and the remainder will be 4. So that's what it's going to return. And I want to show you with 20. The remainder is 2. 20 divided by 6 is 3, right? And the remainder is 2. So that's why you get 2 over here. So yeah, it will come in handy you'll understand one day why we use this modular symbol. And I'm going to show you another exercise later on, but that's for later on. I'm going to show you how to make this modular symbol useful. You're going to see in one of the exercises that I will give you guys that it is very useful. So keep in mind to what it actually does and try to use your brain to solve that exercise. And if you can't, I'll show you my implementation. So, but that's for later on. But thanks for watching now, guys, and stay tuned for the next video. Like and subscribe.